evening, everybody, and welcome to an exclusive. My name is Rick Beato, and I'm here with my good friend Paul Gillings, here to talk about his new album titled, is it NOFL or Noffle?
Yes.
NOFL.
NOFL or Noffle, whichever, really.
Now,
I don't mind.
I'd like to dive into the album, but first and foremost...
Your name isn't Rick Beato, though.
No, my name isn't Rick Beato. It's Zane Lowe.
So my name's Paul Gillings. This is Jack. This is usually my show, but Jack's going to be hosting for us and asking me some questions for a change, which could be dodgy, could be cool. We'll see.
But we can edit them out because it's not live. So, Paul.
Yes.
The question that's on everyone's minds at the moment: what is Noffle?
What is Noffle? So it's a little like it's just a price that was a project originally of just my progress of learning to play the guitar properly. I say properly. I've been playing the guitar since I was about 8 or 9, really, but just very badly and in very sort of sporadic bits, really. So when I was 8, I had guitar lessons at school, at middle school, which was terrible, and it only lasted about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I picked up the guitar again in my late teens, early 20s, and learnt a few Britpoppy songs because that's what was going on at the time. 96, 97 was all very Oasis, so I learnt some Oasis songs and business. And then sort of that lasted about a year or so, and then stopped completely really playing the guitar at all until sort of, I guess, 2018, 2019, where you realised that you could actually record an album at home. Yeah, yes, but my guitar playing didn't get any better and I didn't work on it. I just thought, well, I can strum around a 12 bar, so I'll record some 12 bar blues.
Yeah.
And then sort of around 2020, I had a little bit of cash from a couple of gigs and from some royalties, not very much, and bought myself a little Squier.
Yeah.
Squier Strat. And I've put in an hour every day since, really. So last 4 years, coming up for year 5 this year, I've been putting in an hour a day, learning some scales. I had a few lessons for a couple of years as well from Mr. Ross Stephen over in Galston Guitar Lessons. Very, very highly recommend. Lovely chap. Really knows how to play too, which is always a good one. And you need to be sort of taught by someone who can play, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. You just hear about people going to lessons or... and they say, well, the guy gave me all this advice, but when he played, he couldn't actually do it.
I just feel it, man.
Yeah, and it's like, no, Ross can really play.
Yeah.
He's in a tribute band called 4 Blokes Playing Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
we know that stuff ain't easy.
Yes, I have.
So, he's incredible. So, I had lessons off him for a couple of years and have been sort of, because I know music theory, I've just been putting myself into the guitar with that. But
also learning every day. You tell me about your morning noodles. You always noodle in the morning for an hour. It's like your favourite part of the day.
Yeah.
See, apart from when I come round to use your recording studio, this is your favourite part of the day.
Well, totally. And then that just kind of like,
as you're
noodling, ideas come, and chord sequences appear.
So this album isn't... Actually, you didn't set out to write this album.
Not at all.
This is just you progress along the way and whatnot, and that's it documented. And and I guess it just came to the time where you thought, well, I've got all these songs, and let's put them out on an album. Sort of thing.
I mean, I hadn't intended. I'd looked around and I'd got like 11, 12 tracks, and I hadn't intended to release them at all.
Yeah,
like, not one bit. And I even toyed with putting them out secretly under a different name, calling it Noffle, which stands for no one's fucking listening. Is what it stands
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, so I'll explain why that's my philosophy on being an independent musician these days. Is what it comes down to. Really, we'll go deeper into that in a bit.
Absolutely.
But I was sort of thinking, I've really got into around the time I'd sort of got into this. I watched a lot of guitar YouTube, and
there is a lot of guitar on YouTube.
Our friend Rick Beato, who we love. We both always go, have you seen Rick's new video? And we had a good conversation with us.
Yeah, it's a breeding ground for conversation for music snobs, isn't it? Do you watch Rick Beato?
Yeah.
We'll all circle jerk for the next half an hour.
Yes, we all know more because of Rick, and I feel like my musical experience has got richer because of him. Definitely, a lot. But he's friends with a guy who I got into via him called Rhett Shull, who's a professional live guitarist.
I think he's done like interviews and stuff with him before.
Yes, right? But Rhett's own channel is full of really, really great, like, cutting the bullshit guitar advice.
Right, okay.
You know, so, like, you know, what does a tube screamer do? You know, I've heard about these tube screamer pedals. He's talking about it.
Sure.
What is the difference between this Stratocaster costing £200 and this one costing 20,000? And he will go through it and absolutely A/B test it in scientific ways. And you know, I say he's a young man. I guess he's in his early 30s, but he's just a superb guitarist. He's got a really nice way about him. And he was talking about this band called Kruangbin, which are instrumental, like Texan 3-piece. Like bass, drums and guitar, and it was all instrumental. It was all just lovely, these soundscapes and this lilting guitar, and not that I thought I could imitate it, but it definitely turned me on. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna have a little jam and see if something comes out. Came out nothing like Kruangbin, obviously, because they're incredible, and if you haven't heard them, please check them out. But, you know, so that was like strike one for Rhett, like getting me into that.
Yeah.
Then earlier...
Don't talk too much about Rhett, he'll be demanding royalties.
And then late last year, like, Rhett had never released his own stuff, and he recorded an instrumental guitar track, a little EP, and it was fabulous. So I thought, well, and he talked about, he did a video talking about how brave that was and what a great departure that was for him, and how outside of his comfort zone that was. And I kind of thought, well, if he's done it, so can I. I found huge inspiration from that and thought, well, you know, my guitar playing on it is probably pretty rudimentary. It's probably like full of mistakes, so I went through and like took out the really duff notes. But other than that, it's just me jamming over backing tracks that I created and making songs out of.
I think what you can tell is that it wasn't made with the idea to like... It wasn't a thought out album. Obviously, you thought the songs out and you work back on them and you play them to your best of your ability, and it sounds fantastic. And clearly, you know what you're doing as a musician.
Thanks, man.
But it wasn't made to be a commercial album.
No,
it wasn't made to be like, oh, I can get this song on. I can get this song. This song can outdo Invisible Prison. You know what I mean?
In my opinion, if that's why you're doing music, then you're on a hiding to nothing. If you're going to, in my humble opinion, for what it's worth, if you're making an album thinking, this is the one that's going to make me, this is going to break me, this is going to make me lots of money, this is going to get me noticed, then you're making it for the wrong reasons, and it ain't going to happen. You've got to make it like no one's fucking listening. Yeah. You got to make it for you.
And that's the most interesting thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's about this whole
art
album.
For art's sake.
You've released it on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
You've released a guitar instrumental album, Paul Gillings,
harmonica player,
known very much as... I don't even think there's a harmonica on this entire album, is there?
Not one bit. No, there is no harmonica on it at all. And I remember.
So that was a conscious decision, then, was it, to really stray from that?
No, I just it was ready, and that seemed like a good time. It really wasn't anything as punk or as cool as that. And perhaps in a way, I was a little bit sort of scared to release it. So perhaps like, you know, subconsciously, I thought I'll put it out on New Year's Day. That way, no one will listen to it. You know.
Has anyone asked you what Noffle means yet?
No, only you.
Only me?
Yeah.
Well, so I'm listening.
yeah. That would imply that you're a somebody, though.
Wow, this is true. This is true. No, I'm not. I'm sat here with you. No,
yeah, man. It was just really good fun to make, and like we were talking about before about some of the chord changes, and they like songs. Some of them are 2-chord vamps that I've just literally just jammed over. And made like on one of them, I can't remember what one it was, but I did like a minute worth of it being like upbeat and busy, and then a minute worth of it being chilled and like sort of wash chords.
Yeah.
And then just did it for like 5 minutes, a minute on, a minute off kind of thing, and then jammed over it.
Yeah.
But then others were completely a song structure, a verse chorus, which I then didn't have words for. And I thought, well, what would happen if I just jammed all over this? And so like then I could hear melodies for the chorus and for the verse, but I couldn't find any lyrics that would do it justice. I'm also a bit like, I don't know about you, because I think your singing voice, obviously we play in the, you know, I dip in the big cheese on bass for you, and you know, help through your album, so I've got sort of, you know, a good understanding of what a good vocalist you are, and you know, really you work on your vocals. But I've never really liked my own singing voice.
No, I think you said this to me before.
So I was quite relieved when it comes to instrumental stuff that I
Yeah.
didn't have to.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, I say you're in your comfort zone. You're not playing the harmonica, so instantly that is instantly that's one crutch removed. But it felt like you were within your sphere of knowledge, even though you were playing a different instrument.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I studied music, and at school at A level, and spent a lot of time learning how music is put together. What it takes, and I think that was really helpful to orchestrate it and make songwrite. I think I've been doing for a long while now, it really helped create stuff and put it together.
I have a question. So with the songs which you write that become instrumentals, it sounds like there's pretty much no different process from if you write a song that has lyrics.
Not
it's just
really,
some tend to have lyrics and some tend to not have lyrics, and these just happen to be of a bunch that go in that. But your lead parts and your riffs and your the hooks to your songs, I've noticed that even though these are instrumentals, they still have that hook which goes in your head, which is normally a vocal melody. But in this, it might be... I can't remember the name of the track I said I really liked, but I've got that...
Sun.
That's in my head for about 3 days after that, and I was like, Paul...
I know a song. Get on your nerves. Get on your nerves. Get on your nerves.
And it's just the structure and the thought put into these is no less than if you were Bob Dylan would put into a great lyric.
See,
it's
I
still
find
well thought out in that way, and I found that fascinating.
God bless you, mate. So it is unusual because I was brought up on instrumental tracks, and I remember you messaged me after I'd sent you it, and I'd sent you sort of a pre-release copy, and you were like, I'd listened to it a couple of times because instrumentals is outside of my comfort zone.
I hate instrumental music most of the time.
I was brought up on it, so for me, releasing an instrumental music is par for course. So for starters, when I was really young, I'm like 3, 4 and 5, my mum would listen to The Shadows.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And they were just a 4-piece instrumental band, weren't they? Yeah. Foot Tapper and all that stuff.
A very successful one as well, and ended up being the backing guys for for Cliff Richard and stuff, like Cliff Richard and The Shadows. But that Shadows album with Apache ding 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 ding, that is so memorable for my childhood. I thought Hank Marvin was amazing, and he's a guitar god still. So that was my first introduction to instrumental music. Then when I was in the harmonica band from the age of 11, that was a 5-piece instrumental harmonica band. We had hours worth of instrumental music. Now the instrumental music in that sense was 1930s show tunes, if you like
ragtime, that sort of thing.
No, that's more 1920s. Okay. But there's stuff like
sorry, I'm old school.
Caravan, Peg of My Heart, Granada, and those had really strong melodies, although they had vocals. Without the vocals, the songs, the tunes were so instantly recognisable by the... I mean, we were a cabaret act in the sort of late 1980s. It was so recognisable by the audience. Am I thinking like...
anything goes, that sort of thing.
That kind of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
Incredible melodic sort of...
Absolutely. Like, the Rodgers and Hammerstein. Anything with such a strong melody. That you know the melody better than you do the words there because you didn't know the words to that one. Who does? Let's be honest. Well, I dare say there's some buffs out there.
I don't know the words to any of the songs I do in Big Cheese.
Mumbling them in a pub in South Walsham of a Saturday.
Available for bookings now.
To 5 drunk people. Yes, the Big Cheese, wonderful party band. You might want their other bass player. No disrespect, Lloyd. Wonderful, wonderful bass player. Big boots to fill, and very grateful for expanding myself out. I think has helped with that as well, because I didn't really play bass. Again, I played bass on my earlier albums, but it was only ever 12-bar rootsy stuff.
Yeah.
And then you said, "Well, you play bass, don't you? We need a dep this year, so will you stand in?" So I weren't really up for learning 40 songs absolutely perfectly, so I printed out the chord sheets and jammed along, which you were well happy with, and we had a lovely time. I feel it was good, wasn't it?
And the more you progressed with it, the more you kind of got into
Yeah.
it, and I was like, oh, Paul's doing a fill on this.
Paul's playing the bass line that's on the record on this one as well.
Paul's jumping about. He's not reading the sheet music this time. First gig, you were like this in the sheet music, which did the job, but obviously you weren't really in the moment with it. But you really got to feel it, and I guess bass is an instrument that you really have to feel, and you can improvise so much on.
It's just learning the chords. It was just learning the chord sequences.
Yeah.
Knowing when the changes are coming instead of being utterly shocked and surprised by them. But to start off with, I was counting beats, counting bars, looking at you and the drummer for cues, all over it, and then after sort of gig 6 or 7, you start to go, right, here it is. Which is why I think gigging and playing live is such a great learning platform.
Definitely.
Really sharpens you up, doesn't it?
Well, what do they say? The Beatles played like 300 gigs before they were signed by before they were managed by Brian Epstein and released their first single, because they were so tight as a band.
You get to the point where I mean, I've been in bands like you just know, like Danny R and I, we had the duo.
Yeah.
I could tell you where he was going to go next.
Yeah.
And everything. We spent so much time together and so many gigs. We did 60 gigs a year for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just knew exactly where he was going to go.
You know
next.
the other person more than you know yourself.
It becomes a conversation. Yeah. So you can kind of predict, when your mate's got catchphrases, or you say something, your mate's going to take the piss, or make an inappropriate joke. You know what that is.
Yeah.
And it's the same with music. It becomes a conversation. It becomes like you can almost preempt what each other are going to do.
Good anecdote for that is Matt, the drummer from the Big Cheese, said to me the other day, I was practicing listening to the record to, I think it was like American Idiot or something, and he's like, and in my head, I was singing along, and I sang the ad-lib that you always do at that point in the song. It's like, I've been doing this for too long.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing, of playing with people. But yeah, so show tunes... bass playing to cheesy pop from the 70s to modern day, noodling an hour a day and getting some proper hardcore practice. It's clear that you're a massive fan of actually becoming a jack of all trades and learning different instruments and different things about how to make a record and expanding your knowledge.
It did seem to me like paying for a recording studio and stuff is expensive. And also time-consuming. And being in a band is time-consuming. Being in a band is, I thought about this, it's like, maybe I just don't play well with others in the whole songwriting as a band situation. I don't know. Because I've been in hundreds of bands over the years, but none's really stuck. I was in one particular heavy songwriting band in the late 90s. And, I really struggled to get my ideas across, and really struggled to... be patient with the other members to work out their ideas, because I would come with like a full demo where I've played the acoustic guitar, recorded it on my Fostex 4-track. I'll play the acoustic guitar, I'll put harmonica over it, I've overdub vocals. Yeah. So here it is. Here's my finished demo. Here's the words and the chord sheets. Everybody, that's the song. And then we go. Well, actually, I was thinking like we could do a different bit for the verse or the chorus. I'm like, well, write your own song if that's what you want to do. Don't fuck my songs about. What the hell? And get all arsey about it. Which led me to think maybe I don't play well with others. So like when it came to like writing my own songs as well, she talked about the and I sort of started recording again in 2018, is that I found that, because I'm a graphic designer, and I found out that there was this program called GarageBand on my Mac. And I thought, here we go, this is like my Fostex 4-track recorder, but on absolute speed. Look at you can put endless amounts of tracks on, obviously depending on how hardcore your computer processor is. So I just started, like, I had an acoustic guitar and I had a case full of harmonicas, and I could strum around 3 chords and I could play harmonica. So that's what I recorded. And then I found I could make up blues lyrics, because I hadn't done that for a while. So I worked with what I had. And I didn't know about an interface or anything. So I had an iMac and the built-in microphone I was using to record.
You still have it now, don't you?
My iMac, I think, is behind here.
No, the actual microphone, you showed it to me. It was
that was the second one. So I bought another one then and plugged it in the back in the sort of 1/8" jack socket. Yeah. So I bought that microphone from bloody Wish, I think, for 25 quid. That gold.
And that recorded everything on that first album.
Yeah. So I went from like doing demos as in just getting ideas down, playing to the built-in microphone, to plugging it into the back of the Mac, not using an interface. I had no idea that's how you did things. No idea that an interface like this Scarlett was the first one I bought, I think, in 2019, 2020, to do the second album with. Otherwise, I was literally just plugging a microphone, a condenser microphone straight into the back. It was mad. What was I doing?
Yeah, but you figure this out as you learn and you move along, and I think that a great thing about your ethic as your work ethic as a musician. I think that you try and do the best job you can. I think you get to a stage where you go, well, that's the best I can do. Fuck it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's sort of like you sort of limited. They say that limitations is the sort of mother of creativity. So like I remember in art class at school they said so if you limit your materials, it's like today I'm going to use white bond paper and charcoal. Then you've got to get super creative in order to create something, rather than if you had like a palette full of watercolours or you had a digital design platform or whatever. If it's just charcoal and white paper, you've got to get super creative.
You'd have a finished.
Absolutely.
You'd be still picking out your paints while someone's finished the drawing,
but also,
and they've sold it on eBay for 200 quid.
But I also find that setting boundaries to your creativity, as in materials or what you're using. So, for example, I had one microphone, I had an acoustic guitar, an old beat up old Hohner thing, and 12 harmonicas and my voice. So that was what I made within the realms of it. Well, so when it came to the second album, I wanted to do something a bit more rocky. So I borrowed my mate's PRS guitar and sort of thought, perhaps I ought to up my game a little bit, but I couldn't. So instead, I just kept playing bits and then looping it, or just doing like 100 takes of like the most remedial piece of lead guitar work until I got the right one and stabbed it. Any
particular tracks that you remember a sore spot to record on that album?
Oh, so there's a bit called Three Heads Are Better Than One. On Invisible Prison. They got played on radio too. Now that solo in there at the start, because it starts off with the guitar doing the solo before the three harmonicas take over.
You'll have to put it over the top.
Yeah, I'll play the intro bit. That solo bit took me forever, and it's still fairly simplistic.
Yeah.
But all the sort of background guitar bits, probably if I heard it, I could dare say I could. Like, I can't remember how it goes. It was really simple minor pentatonic. I didn't even know what a minor pentatonic. On the guitar was a thing. I knew what it was musically, but I didn't know where it was on the guitar, or that guitarists use them so extenstively, because I hadn't at that point.
It's the one trick. It's the one trick for most guitar players.
So I borrowed my mate's PRS that I was playing badly. My wife then bought me a bass guitar that I still play in the Big Cheese from eBay for £50. That bass guitar has done me loads. So it's done all my albums, with the exception of the acoustic one. So I stuck root note bass bits down on it, but I didn't. I wanted to have drums. I had no idea where I was going to get drums from for the Invisible Prison album in 2020. And then we hit lockdown, so even finding a drummer and getting them to do it remotely or session-wise could have still been an option. So I thought, well, how else do people do this? So I thought about samples. So I bought for £5 a CD, an audio CD with not audio CD, a thingy, a data CD with like what did it have? 200 drum samples on it and drum loops done by a live drummer. And you had like the room sound. So if you had like a little 4-bar phrase, dump the tester, it would have like the separations for that, the room sound for that. So you'd have like 5 for that.
Oh, fantastic!
So I then cut all this up, put them all in GarageBand, cut them up, like put them where I wanted. If I wanted the cymbal to go there, if I wanted the hi-hat to go there, I just cut and paste, and did that for all. What was there, 12, 13 tracks on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Oh, wow. How long does it take you to do all the drums?
Hours.
It tells, like, you really, like, it sounds, and I think that was your idea, was to actually make it a four-piece rock band.
Well, I contacted the guy who sold me the CD and said, because it said on there, for permission, not for commercial use or, gain permission. So I contacted him, I emailed him, because I bought it off of eBay, and said, I want to release this as a commercial, and I want to credit you as the drummer on my album. Yeah. So, he, I hope, when I registered with the PRS, I hope when it got played on Radio 2, he got some bumps.
Yeah. What did he say when you messaged him?
He said, yeah, fine, just my real name is this, Nathan, somebody, I can't remember, he's credited on the actual CD. I think we have a copy of that here. So I think it says, if I can read it because I don't have my glasses, Nathan Luca.
Nathan Luca.
It was the guy who supplied the drums
Thank
for
you, Nathan.
Invisible Prison.
Thanks for saying yes. Otherwise, Paul's countless hours would have been.
Well, I might have just
redone.
Released it anyway and reaped the whirlwind. Probably shouldn't say that, but I probably would have done. Probably would have put it out and gone, he'll never. No one's going to listen to this anyway. So what the hell? But
I'm sure he gets loads of these.
Yeah. So and then. But so I had that 4-piece band. Again, my limitations were drum kits, live drummer, if you like, live but sample drummer, electric guitar, bass guitar, harmonica and vocals. And obviously I could layer up as many guitars as I wanted, being my guitar playing at that point was still quite rudimentary, so I wasn't into layering loads up and stuff like that because I didn't know how to fucking do it, to be honest. So that was the limitations of Invisible Prison, that album there. But when it came to 2 years later to do Mr. Smith. I had written some instrumentals.
You've released so many albums, you can't remember
only
the names.
5 now. We're at number 5 since
Body count's
since
getting
2019. High. Since 2018, 2019. It's 5.
But you moved on from.
Yeah, I moved on from that, and by which time GarageBand had a couple of upgrades and had a virtual drummer installed in it, as you've seen and you've used to a great extent as well. And so then it was about manipulating
You're my
that
virtual drummer.
into what I wanted, and it wouldn't always do it. So it was a learning curve as to how to get that drummer to do what I want. But then I found if I added samples into the end, sort of, into bits that I did want, I added samples in, so I got a mix of the both,
right?
If you like. So it's
sense,
probably about 75-80% virtual drummer, and then so about 10-20% of added samples in, because I couldn't make the virtual drum behave and do the end crash cymbal, for example, when I needed him to. So I just put a sample in.
It is a drummer after all.
Not your lovely Matt, he's the best.
Oh no, Matt's fantastic. He does what he's told.
Yeah. So again, but then I sort of got a bit more adventurous with, although my guitar playing had improved, not enough to do solo. So very great friend Danny R did the guitar solos on that album, and does some crackers on there, absolutely crackers, including like one of my favourite tracks of everything I've ever written is Mr. Smith, which he does this guitar solo on the end of that, which is absolutely sublime.
Yeah.
And so that was the sort of last one I did, sort of, just to have an album, if you like. But even then, each of those albums was never like, right, I'm going to write an whole album. It was like I just kept coming up here because we're in my home studio, which I'd initially just put the computer in just to do graphic design, as a bit of a side hustle, and then as I found more recording equipment and more musical instruments, they just became like around to which we now have drum kits and amplifiers and guitars.
It went from graphics to something less financially viable.
Yes, even less likely to make me a living. So then it just became like, I might be recording a song, and when I've got enough, I'll release an album, which is what's happened the last couple of times, really. You
definitely see those 3 albums as like a set of albums,
if you like. They're kind of the blues rock, if you like. It's sort of like like you said to me in a text today, it seems like it's a progression from sort of rootsy acoustic blues, like electric blues, and then all out indie blues rock, if you like, with Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
But Journeyman for last year's album.
Yeah. Well, this is when we met, when you had kind of should I say stop giving a fuck?
I was a bit burnt out by the time we came to
You've done 3 albums in the space of And loads of stuff with Danny.
Yeah,
as
we've
well.
done 3 EPs.
And you produced Spectacular Man as well.
Yeah.
And played in that. So you
and
really
I've done some
worked your
work
arse off, hadn't you?
Yeah, we've done some work for Darren Stegelers, DSL as well.
But all great stuff that you put together. But you were just like, I was just another guy who was like, Paul, can you help me out? And quite rightfully so. You didn't know me. You were probably like, do I really want this at this point? You'd sort of been. You've been powering forward to get all this music out.
Well, you think even those 3 albums, if you like, and then the 3 EPs with Danny and all the live work Danny and I had done, but before I'd met you in sort of at the end of 2022, sort of start of 2023, I was a bit sort of like, I mean, I have a full-time job. I didn't stop for COVID either, by the way. I carried on right the way through that because apparently, graphic design is an essential industry. So, and I have children.
People would starve without it.
I've got 2 children, and I've got a wife and a life and a house to keep and a full-time job, and
it's difficult to juggle it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got so having my own albums, not being in a band that required me to be out of the house 2 nights a week, recording my own stuff and being self-sufficient, if get to sort of wheel it back to that, if I may, is because necessity being the mother of invention, of like wanting to create an album but only having 5 minutes before tea's ready, or before I've got to make tea, or before I've got to take my daughter to or my son to whatever practice or hobby they've got, before I need to do my responsibilities as a person that's in a relationship and part of a family, which I love.
So it sounds like it means to you to actually have the ability to do all this and be self-sufficient is that you can do it on your own terms.
Absolutely, completely.
Is that
you've
the
not
most
got to then go
important
to a band. Like I said, I don't think I play well with others. So you go to a band practice, drive to the other side of from here. Norwich is 35 miles. So you drive to the other side of Norwich for 2 hours, where the singer, for example, and this isn't necessarily what's happened, but either someone would be late, someone to be drunk, someone to be like not learnt the songs, and dealing with the band is hard work, right?
Definitely.
You got 4. It's about being married to 4 other people. It's just like you never know.
Very dysfunctional people in most cases.
Or someone might cancel, or you might have 2 gigs in a weekend. You might have 3. You might have none. So it's very predictable. It's very time away from the family unit. But home recording allows me to, be at home.
Yeah, definitely.
And get stuff done when I want to. Like I say, on my own terms.
You don't really need to be in a band anymore.
Not really.
You've got everything.
It's nice though, isn't it? It is fun.
It's wonderful to be in a band.
It's super fun to be in the right band, I feel.
But you can see why there aren't bands anymore.
Yeah, because it's hard work.
Everyone with half a brain is probably just like, well, I'll just do it at home on my own and put it out there. Like, I don't need to go to a rehearsal. No. I can just do a demo, and then if I play live, then
I'll pick up a band or do it acoustically, which is what I've been doing a lot, and I know you have as well. From your that Sirocco Moments album we did, like you've been playing that live. We did once with a full band because you got the guys from Big Cheese to help out, but mostly you've been doing it acoustically and solo, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Because good song is a good song. Whether you need a full band behind you to prove it's a good song, or to have a good song is a different thing.
I like that we did that barrel gig, so there was an actual live representation of it.
Yeah,
like, how do I see you play live in a band? I'm like, play this. Like, can I book you for a gig in London? Bring your band.
Never happened though, did it?
Guys, can you come down to London for a gig for no money on a Tuesday night?
This is it with original music to start off with. There's no money in it whatsoever. At all. Whereas, with like as you well know, with a covers band and Big Cheese, it's nice, isn't it?
Minimal effort, maximum profit is our motto.
Race to the bottom.
But there is that, there's always that itch to scratch, and I think it's fantastic that you're able to create in this space and put your own ideas down. And going back to your point with the band, I don't think that you're difficult to work with. I think that when you come in to something and you have a fully formed idea in your head of how everything is going to sound, well, at that point, the reason that you'd be in a band, I work well in a band because I can play the guitar and I can't really do anything else. Like, I don't know how, I don't know what which cymbal goes where and what goes on there. I know that one of them goes and the hi-hat goes
You literally call the drums the Duff Duffs.
The Duff Duff.
Yeah.
Matt, the drummer, is Matt the Duff Duff.
Matt the Duff Duff, yeah.
Exactly.
Because that's the noise they make.
Yeah. But if you come into a situation and you have an idea in your head, it's very difficult to want to do, unless you want to give up control completely on it and just be like, this is a collaboration effort. And there's room for that.
There is. It takes a lot of trust, that. And I did that a couple of times when I was in a band called Jamson's Mafia Band. And I gave a couple of songs to that. And them guys did me total proud. It sounded awesome. It's the drum part that Dan Stacey stuck down was better than I possibly could have thought of myself. No problem.
Yeah.
And but that that was pre-COVID, and COVID kind of put the nail in that band, and we all afterwards had done our own things and stuff like that. And some of it weren't music for some of us, which is still cool, obviously. But yeah, past that, I haven't been in many creative band songwriting situations that have worked for me, to be quite honest. I mean, Danny and I were very special in the fact that, again, I could give him a song, he could play it, and I'm like, you're spinning it, mate, it's fantastic, because he's a superior guitarist than me. So yeah, there's like two situations there out of, what am I into, 38 years worth, 37 years worth of music? Count. And the amount of bands I've been in, I can literally count it on two fingers on this hand. But the amount of times that the creativity has worked out for me in a sort of,
But it's not uncommon that,
Do you not
that's
think?
what happened with the Police. At the start, Sting wrote these fantastic songs, but he needed these two guys to formulate them. Yeah. And then after a few years, obviously, he had the idea in his head, and he didn't really need the other guys anymore. But they were there, like, come on, I want to be a part of this.
Well, I heard this about Bon Jovi as well, because old Richie Sambora got the arse because he thought that it was all Mick and Keith kind of situation.
But the band's called Bon Jovi.
Yeah. So when he didn't need, he said, "Oh, I'll get another guitarist." He was a bit kind of like, what?
Yeah. But you didn't want to do it anymore, really, did you?
No, didn't want to do anything, really. Didn't want to do music at all, to be fair. I mean, Danny and I had sort of come to a natural break there. He'd had some personal stuff he needed to sort out, which was cool. We'd done some fantastic music, some of the best music I've ever made in my life. Certainly some of the best harmonica playing. And, I was just like, I'll have a year off. I don't give a crap. Fuck it.
Well, you said to me, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm going to play golf.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah.
And then, I don't know. Tell me how it happened. You felt sorry for me, I think, and I was desperate to finally release an album, and I just didn't have the tools to do it.
No, that's right. It seemed like I could help you with, I like help. I like musicians. I mean, I was just spinning the same boat myself, which is why I helped. The musicians that I have and the way I have.
Thank you very much, by the way.
Like, it just seemed like, as a young musician, I had a lot of help, I had a lot of sort of, good opportunities. And I've done really well to work out how all this software works and work out and put the thing in. It just seemed a shame not to pass it on instead of keeping it all to myself. It seemed like bad form to keep it all to myself and go, well, you figure it out. Sure. That's not how I like to live my life. It's sort of, and how evolution happens is generosity and reciprocation. We need to be generous to each other with our knowledge and with our, and be kind, so that then that comes back to us in not necessarily a spiritual or karmic way. Yeah. But I felt that I've had some good opportunities. I'd learned some good knowledge and spent some time doing that. And it was stuff that I could give to you, I thought, very easily, very quickly. So I thought, well, why wouldn't I? I'd just be an arsehole if I didn't, to be quite honest. And then you played some of your songs.
There'd be no shame in you doing. You didn't really know me at the time.
But you sent me some songs, and I thought, how fucking brilliant. I thought they were really good, and your voice is incredible. So I thought, I want to be a part of that, because if he goes somewhere, I can...
Was that... Here I am. Sorry about that.
Ride out on his coattails.
568 streams on Spotify last year, which I'm quite happy with.
Mate, I'm glad that you are, because I think that stuff can get you down, can't it? Not you necessarily could get one down.
I did pick a big post about it, because I wasn't going to post Spotify Rap this year. I was like, that's awful. I was like, that was awful. But then I was just like, it's good for me. And then I looked at the percentages. It was like I got added to 1,666% more playlists.
Well, you didn't even have an album, the year before last, did you?
I had a scrappily recorded EP, which to me was great at the time.
Sure.
But you can see the difference between that and this.
Well, yeah, you talk about progression. You was talking about my sort of progression as I went through. We sort of covered that as well. But it's not just about progressing as far as like quality and I progressed from acoustic guitar to electric guitar and bass and drums. It's not like the progression that we're talking about there, are we? We're talking about an artistic and a quality.
Yeah, evolving as an artist. Over time.
Finding out who you really are, doing stuff that's, more credible, if you like, as well.
Sure. I think that, for me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like when we did the album together, Scirocco Moments, was it the first time where you really wanted to, you were just like, it was not really a gain in like, I can't, actually no, because this makes you seem like you're a calculated deviant, but did doing that open up a way to be like, right, okay, I actually enjoy, I'm going to just follow my gut and I'm going to do what feels right for me now going forward.
Well, with my own music, do you mean?
Yes.
No, not really. No. I kind of still wanted to do nothing, but...
I just want to be important, Paul.
Well, you are important. You then sort of,
no, I'm joking.
Took me along to every gig you possibly can, even asking me to play an instrument I couldn't play very well. It's like, or at all. But he still dragged me along, and it's been great. And
I guess what I'm saying is, was there a pivot at that point where you started, where you say your music beforehand, you made these 3 albums, and then Journeyman seemed like a new chapter of sorts.
In a way, Journeyman was more or less a desk clearing, and it was a bit more experimental because it wasn't necessarily fitting into a blues/rock genre. It was a bunch of songs I had written, probably some of them around the same sort of time as the earlier albums, but either hadn't recorded them or had recorded them just not very well and hadn't brushed up on them. So I scoured my hard drive, picked up all these songs that I thought were good enough to release, made them to a quality they wanted to release, and also like music production is something that I've been fascinated with as well. So like I said, I've upped my gear as getting an interface, buying better microphones, room treatment and stuff like that. I'd been getting Raoul Crane from Blaze Studios to mix and master my album. So I realised that once I'd exported the files out of GarageBand, they didn't seem to have the shine, they didn't have the volume, they didn't have like the transparency of sound the commercial tracks that I'd been listening to had. So I asked around, and did some searches, found out that there's a recording studio in Caister, just down the road. So I contacted them, and it was Raoul, who knew me of old because we'd been on the same musical circuit since we were teenagers, and I'd lived in Caister when I was a later teenager as well. And so we knew of each other in a way, and he gave me some great advice. And so he started mixing and mastering the final product. So I recorded them here and then send the stems to him, and he would mix and master it. But I was always fascinated about how he did that. I got to the point where I was quite happy with my mix, and I liked where the instruments sat, and I liked the tone and the EQ of them. I just couldn't get that final shine and master. So
you call it like a wizardry art, don't you?
Like a dark art of alchemy. So Journeyman was my first album that I mastered. And I did it a really sort of old-fashioned, what I'd call an old-fashioned way of, exporting it, taking it into an external program. It's not what they call, what we were talking about the other day about top-down mastering. It wasn't like I could hear the final result.
Yeah.
I had to export the mix.
Yeah, you're kind of doing it blind,
was. Yeah, doing it a bit blind. So it has, that album has some varying, volumes and, sort of some of it's a bit peaky and some of it's a bit here and there. But with
once again, you were starting from something that you knew nothing about.
Absolutely.
And that's a testament to your bravery, brevity?
Brevity being very short. So how brief things are.
Bravery when it comes to being imperfect with things and not striving to...
Which is why that no one's fucking listening, why Novel is such a great mantra to get behind.
Well, that was, I think, the first thing that I wrote, because I sent you a loaded list of notes, and I said that Journeyman seemed like you sort of dipped your toe into something new for you, which was obviously recording, completely doing it all on your own, and entering your not giving a fuck face. Is it fair enough to call it that?
I guess so. Yeah. Or this is not. I always still give a fuck about the songs. It's just I worry less that they don't fit into an image that I was trying to create for myself. It'll say, it's like, for example, I'm known as a harmonica player. No, I'm not really that known, to be quite honest, in the grand scheme of things. I have 85, Spotify listeners. I'm not known.
If they all fucked off, then the mortgage is still getting paid, basically. So it doesn't matter. You can do what you want.
If 85 of those went and I got 100 different ones because it's guitar now instead of that, then what's the difference? Or because I'm known as a blues because I was the 1993 blues world harmonica champion, and all of a sudden I'm turning around and releasing an indie album, then who cares in a way? And also, my heroes constantly reinvented themselves.
Yeah,
like U2, if you like Madonna, any of those people, completely just wrote songs, good songs,
all the time. That's artists.
Yeah, it doesn't have to fit into a genre. We go, it's genre obsessed.
Yeah, they're inspired by things around them, but not in the way where they would try and change that about themselves.
No.
They would take that take parts of that and be organically themselves. And I think that this album is organically you.
Yeah.
Even though it's not got any of you singing or any of you playing harmonica, you can hear the riffs. And you said Danny before had said that you play guitar like you play harmonica.
I play harmonica, not with my mouth.
And I think you're
excellent.
And I think that's that taking, not losing yourself in the process of trying to, it's trying to advance, because people think, oh, someone's gone pop, but it's bringing that into your own sphere of influence. And I think having that freedom to not feel like you have to appease anyone
we are still
having that realization must have been liberating for you.
We are still, and everyone on our music scene as well, small-time independent artists. We don't have a record company on our heels going, oh, you're going to have to produce another rock album because that's what your fans expect, and we want record sales. It's so liberating and so freeing, today's music industry, but at the same time, it is kind of fucked. It is, and the distributors and Spotify are ripping off artists. But if you feel ripped off, don't put your stuff out on there, is what I have to say. That's really controversial opinion. But I love the fact that anyone across the world, anywhere, has the chance of listening to my music. They're probably not going to, but
they can.
But there's a chance of that now. Whereas I've still got 3 of the 100 Nexus CDs that I had printed up in 1999, and God knows where the rest are, and no one's going to hear that anymore.
Sure. But back then, there must be absolutely tons. I mean, I wasn't alive, but back then there must have been tons of music and tons of bands that you went to see. Where, how would you get hold of their music nowadays if you don't have a CD in the back of your...
Collecting people's demos was an absolute superb art. People would give away CD when recordable CDs became a thing. People would give them away. You'd go to a gig, a showcase night like in London or Norwich, and people would just leave their CDs on the table and stuff like that for you to take.
Yeah.
Which is what's the difference? What's the difference between that and saying, well, we're on Spotify, which bands do all the time.
It's cheaper.
Check our socials, follow us on we're on Spotify, search for us on Google, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's always on the push, on the promote and stuff like that.
I'm acting like an arse on TikTok Monday to Friday, then play a gig at the weekend to make it all worth it.
Brilliant. I can't bear the social media aspect of stuff. I really can't fucking stick it. Not like other people's, but for me doing it. I find it draining. I find it really exhausting. And if I can just concentrate on the music and not worry about having to promote it, having to for it to fit a certain thing, then happy days. I mean, the last year doing Journeyman, doing this album, and I actually have 11 songs nearly finished to do another one.
You?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I've got 6 that are completely finished and in the bag, and I've got another 5 that are, in varying stages of completion, and I should have them done in another couple of months. So I'll probably release that in the summer.
It's more that now you've dropped the expectation that you've actually not felt, I guess, like you have to do it. You're doing it for the joy. You've actually
got nothing to prove.
You've actually been more productive.
In a way, I kind of felt I had something to prove because had a career as a kid. Had a career, there's a old Mickey Mouse sat there, when I was on the Mickey Mouse Club TV show, and there's we did tours, and I was on Jules Holland when I was like 14 and stuff like that, and I always felt I had something to prove, not just to myself but the wider harmonica community as well, especially. I'm not has been, and forgetting that the world doesn't view me like that either. To be quite honest, I was the only one thinking that. Whereas I just love music and I love creating music, so I think may have finally got there after all these years.
It's a journey, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a journey, man.
It's a journey, man. Roll credits. But yeah, back to Journeyman. I think I described it as you dip your toe in the water of, this is Paul Gillings, not Paul Gillings. This is that was your Revolver. This is your Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You've dipped your toe and you like it, and now you've completely bombed into the water. And it's like, out with the harmonicas.
It's just like
no one's fucking listening, so let's go for it.
It's the means to an end. I honestly believed that I could make it through the harmonica and make music my living. Because of my reputation as a harmonica player, but it turns out that I don't have too much of a wide audience and reputation as a harmonica player, and if I did, it don't matter because what I'm after is the music, and the harmonica was just a means to an end. It was just that I could play it well enough to be able to express myself and how I wanted.
Yeah.
But it didn't become enough anymore. I wanted more instruments and wanted more stuff. I wanted to say different things.
Yeah, I can remember when we first started playing together, and I think you were more interested in playing the guitar on my records and like playing guitar in my band than you were playing harmonica.
Yeah.
Because you were so engrossed in it. So I can see how this has came out of that, because that was you going through your, standing in the mirror doing...
Posing, as we do.
Pose.
What length do I need the strap at is most important when you're playing guitar,
question, isn't it? That is one.
But guitarists also have you have a great culture around it as well. I found the harmonica community is lovely, and I have some wonderful lifelong friends from there. I feel like the guitar community is so vast and so wide. But it's so broad, and there's so many different harmonica guitarists to like, and so you've also got great gear as well, which harmonica players are just starting to have with amps and pedals and stuff. Yeah. But the guitar gear has been around for a long time. Yeah. There's great amounts of pedals and amps and all sorts of lovely toys to have, and magazines. There's only one harmonica magazine, and I used to make that. But and that goes through being good and then being mediocre and then being like.
You used to print it in the print shop, did you?
Well, I used to put it together. I used to do the graphic design for it for 5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Is that just like
written articles
harmonica slip a picture of me in harmonica?
I think I have been on the front cover more than anybody else over the years. It's only because I've been around the longest. Yes.
Nepotism, it's fine.
Absolutely. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that I think that it is a thing with instruments like the harmonica where, for instance, I met you first time, I don't know if you can remember, at Songwriter Social, where Isaac came along and he brought you one day or something like that. He got you out of your attic and brought you down, and he
led me in. Come on, old fella.
He was like, "I'm bringing Paul with me tonight," and I was like, "Oh, Paul, the harmonica player," and he was like, "Yeah, he is a harmonica player, but he's also a fantastic guitar player, songwriter, and singer." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, then."
That's annoying.
And you came along and you played like this song which had like major seventh chords and weird structures and stuff, and I was just like, okay, this isn't just some guy who's just like, oh, I'm just going to try playing guitar for a bit. Clearly you cared very deeply about songwriting, and you didn't want to just be a a harmonica player stuck
Not
in
anymore.
that one
No,
lane.
I think I did want to be that for a long while. I wanted to be harmonica famous. I really desperately wanted to be Mr. Harmonica. I so desperately did, so very, very badly. And I think, through the evolution of recording my own songs and, getting back into writing my own songs again and then recording them, I've discovered that, perhaps there's more to this whole music life than just being a harmonica player.
Yeah. So actually having, it's liberating in a way, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. I can see that it's restricting because there's so many, was there something like 100,000 Spotify tracks upload to Spotify every day or something like that, or every hour, some ridiculous statistic.
Yeah.
So you are, a big fish in a little fish in a big pond, rather. I know a song about that. Little Fish, off of Journeyman. So
stream it now.
it is very liberating. It is very liberating.
So a lot of the Gen Z model, as I call it, of releasing music is you release a single. No, you promote yourself. You release a clip. You release a single. You do a TikTok video. You do another TikTok video. You do another one.
Yeah.
I know that's that is not real. That's kind of hyper accentuated. But the idea of releasing singles and then maybe an EP. I think you said to me recently, I just want to release albums now.
Well, I mean, you're right. I do see a lot of marketing advice, and you probably read the same bits and pieces where it says, "Oh, the album is dead." I've read that so many times.
Long live the album.
Well, since so many people on TikTok or any music marketing advice places going, "Album's dead." Write a good EP, write a good one single, release it at a time, blah blah blah. Now, albums might be an old model, and the old model was. I remember when you talk about stronger moments, because you wanted to do the old model, which is I've got an album, I'll pick a couple of songs off there to be singles, and I was like, just release an album, and I think it was I haven't seen, and I might be completely wrong, but I haven't seen a lot of evidence for that Gen Z model that you call it working for people.
No,
so I haven't seen the whole I've released a single and it's gone mental and it's changed people's things. I haven't seen any evidence of it working, to be quite honest, and I might not just be looking in the right places. I'm prepared to be wrong about that, but I haven't seen a lot of evidence of it. I also feel that it's going to sound terrible.
Sorry, you can edit it out.
I think it's my boomer my boomer dad talking, basically. But anything less than an album just seems kind of lazy.
Yeah,
just seems like, what, have you not got enough songs?
Does your brain not expand that much of a vision to be like this?
Is 11 songs that difficult?
Yeah.
Come on, what are you doing with your time? Especially when I see youngsters as well. Still at home with their parents.
Stupid boy.
They're still at home with their parents, probably at college or something like that, or even doing there's that Access Music College. Why have those bods on there not got albums coming out of the Buccaneers? They've got access to recording studios in the college. People showing them how to do it. They're being taught songwriting on a daily basis. Why have they not got albums worth of material? I don't know. Perhaps I'm taking it for granted. My wife says, because not everyone can write songs and not anyone can write as many songs as you can.
I think not many people are fearless enough. I know you say that you're worried and you want to, you want to make, you don't want to put anything out that you're not proud of.
Well, I don't want to put out something that's either badly recorded or got a bunch of bum notes in it.
Yeah.
And having a bum note in something is not even that much of a bad thing. So guitar being out of tune, or playing the wrong chord over something, or just screechy vote. It's just anything that's just kind of grating on the ear. As long as it's not, get it out there, really. Isn't it?
I think that is. I think in the modern day age where everyone has anxiety nowadays. With reason to, with social media and exposure and the world being at your fingertips and criticism being right there, I could imagine that if you haven't got thick skin, a lot of artists who have written loads of amazing music won't release it because they're not ready to face that yet.
Well, I've also put stuff out there and had absolutely no feedback whatsoever, just shouted into a void. Just had no feedback, good, bad or indifferent. And sometimes the noise of the crickets can be worse. Because you think, well, what's the fucking point then? Because
true, yeah.
no one's fucking listening. So what's the point? But I've managed to turn that into something that is liberating.
Yeah.
And go, no one's listening. Well, great. It won't matter what I do then, will
Yeah.
it? Fantastic,
Exactly.
lovely, jubbly. Which is it's a difficult way of getting. Didn't make it for you anyway. Hooray, innit? No, that's bullshit. Of course we want to be validated. I have a desperate, absolutely like pathological need to be liked sometimes. I'm such a people pleaser in social situations. I'm terrible, really, which is why I've sort of trying to give up booze, because it just makes me into this people pleasing, oh god, lick spill, and I can't bear how I behave. So then I get the arse because people won't like me and get nasty, and I just want to change that and don't want to be that person anymore. I want to just be happy that I'm just creating things and be supportive of people that are creating things. Because there's not enough true creativity. Everyone's a content creator. No one's actually creating anything.
Yeah.
And
Content
we need more
is
of that.
shit.
Content
It
creation
is
is bullshit. Absolute fucking bullshit.
It's not. No one gets into music to make content.
fucking crap, innit?
But I think that the way that, in spite of all those things, the fact that you unapologetically release your music is a testament to how brave you are with it.
Oh, I don't mean to say, it doesn't mean to say that the first couple of albums I went absolutely fucking terrified. And when I sent Invisible Prison off to a promoter, which is how it ended up on BBC Radio 2, I was absolutely bricking it. Absolutely chuffing bricking it. Yeah. But now I get less scared. I think it's like anything, isn't it? You're scared when you first get out in the car with your L plates on, aren't you? And before you know it, you're getting speeding fines for driving home from New Year's Eve gigs, aren't you? Because you're so super confident in your old car. But I also forget that I am nearly 50, and a lot of these youngsters, it's anxious and it's new and stuff like that, and I can't even comprehend what it must be like being a young musician, writing your first couple of songs and knowing that the world is able to hear them, because that was so far away when I wrote my first song in my late teens. Like, it was so far away from the world hearing it. But also I'd been on TV since I was 11, so it was like, it's such a weird. I have such a weird view in it, and I forget that my point of view is
You're very unique in that.
Quite unique, quite individual. But I mainly make albums because that's what my heroes did.
Yeah.
They, when's the next U2 album? When's coming out? When's the next Queen album coming out? Yeah.
Similar to why you love CDs, is it? Because you can hold a copy of it.
But and you can enjoy the whole,
vision as the artist intended it.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you do it, but I think you're quite unusual in it. I hope not. I want to be wrong about this. But I was talking to my wife about it the other day, whereby you got the new album by so and so came out, whatever, and you have your mates around and put it on. Like, there's no TV on. There's nothing on. Just the music's on. And you have a joint, and you just sit there with a beer and go, "Oh man, track 7's where it's at, isn't it? What's that one called? Oh yeah,
You and your track 7.
Do you know what I mean? Track 7 is the ultimate track on any album, because and also the album is an experience in itself. It's a collection of songs, but also one big experience of a collection altogether.
Good old trip for any.
Well, it's both like individual songs, and it's one big one. I remember they have the concept albums of old, don't you?
But even if it's not a concept album thought out, then I think that any musician worth half their salt will thematically feel where the album's going, and it will feel like an emotional journey.
Absolutely.
There are albums which I listen to that are albums from start to finish that don't really overlap in the songs. There's no story, but it feels like an emotional experience, and you have to listen from it to start to end. And I guess that is the ultimate, what we all strive for when we release them.
Also, you get the diversity of that artist. So to know that on that album he's got a rock song, he's got a ballad, he's got stuff like that. I thought he was just a rocker, and then comes this lovely lilting ballad. I've so many artists I've listened to. Then you listen to the album and go, "God, who was that by? That's by them. Oh, I only knew them as a rocker." And then there's this gorgeous piece with strings in the background and stuff like that. That's shows another side to that artist. And I think that's the other thing I like, getting invested in an artist. Whereas I think today's the way the music is shoveled out to people. We're getting all Rick Beato now.
Yeah.
Whereas the way music is shoveled out to people,
Back in my day.
you could hear one song by one artist and then not hear that artist again for at least 6 months of having Spotify on shuffle. So, but because there's so much music out there, instead of getting invested in one artist, so I do make a concerted effort to get invested in an artist these days. Like the two ones that stick out for me the past couple of years is John Mayer.
Yeah.
And Khruangbin. And I've gone and researched every album, every EP that those guys have ever made in chronological order, listened to those albums by each of those artists, as an album in right by itself, and invested my time in getting to know that artist rather than just, I like that catchy tune that's gone
There's
by.
There's nothing better than hearing a catchy tune and going, who's this by? And you're like, I love this person. I didn't know they made this
What else
song.
do they do? Oh my God. You get invested in the artist and then you're on a journey with that artist as well. Like me and my sister have been going to watch Terrorvision for years, and Reef as well. And, even now them guys are still releasing albums, still touring. And and we listen to the whole album. We go to see them in concert, and you invest in them. You're along with their journey, and they say, "Thanks for coming along, you old bastard." You can see the audience is aging
point
with us.
to you, do they?
Sometimes, no, they don't. Not you again.
Gillings.
So you invest in the artist, and I love doing that, and I would dearly love, I guess, to have the same relationship with people that like my music as well. I mean, to say that I wouldn't like to have a hit single, pay the mortgage off, and retire to this room and play music for the rest of my life is a lie. Of course I would.
But you're not going to get that by trying to get it.
Well, also, if I did make enough money to have pay my mortgage off with one hit song, I would just sit in here creating albums.
So it would make your life a little bit easier, but at the end of the day, you'd be doing the same thing anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's funny, isn't it?
It is funny, yeah.
The thing is, if you don't start, then you're never going to get anything. If you release a crappy demo and no one's fucking listening anyway.
Yeah. Well, also, it's only up from there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and if you release a crappy demo the first year, and then you release something that's, less crappy but an album full the next year, but they're all absolutely songs from the heart. They're stuff that you believe in, that you've put your time and effort into, then that's progress. And then next time, it'll be something else, right?
Yeah.
Well, but progress isn't always linear. Is the other thing to remember if you're on that too, It isn't always upwards, which is what I thought about the Knopfler album, is that if it turns out any guitarist that listens to it goes, oh my God, he can't play the fucking guitar to save his life, because there isn't widdly, showy-offy guitar parts in it, because I'm not at that level to be able to do that, but also, for what that collection of songs is, I didn't think that would be necessary.
No, I don't. I think it would sound out of place.
Absolutely. However, it doesn't mean to say I haven't listened to Steve Vai and Joe Satriani albums out of my ears and think that they're fantastic. There's some harmonica albums. Oh God, what's the guy's name? Jason Rickey, and there's also Carlos Del Junco, and there's some really acrobatic harmonica playing in the. There's an album called Up and Atom. From the early 2000s by Carlos Del Junco. It is absolutely insane harmonica playing. It's off the chart.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say I don't enjoy that kind of acrobatics. I just didn't feel that this collection of songs needed it. If I wanted that, I'd get Danny to play the guitar to some bits,
You never know. Next time, it might be you make a heavy metal album.
I might be able to do that thing given another couple of years of heavy practice like that. You never know. However, so progress isn't always linear. Sometimes you take a little sidestep. Sometimes you do something that's complete crap. How many I've never ever forgiven U2 for How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. They're my favourite band, and then they released that steaming turd of a record. And I've never gone back and listened to anything since, especially that one they gave us all for nothing on our bloody iPhones, which they keep apologising for. But every album that they made up to that point, up to All You Can't Leave Behind, which is amazing. Every album before then, I absolutely worship the ground that it walks on for that band. So you can't always go upwards. But I'm always on the ear out for the next album. Might turn me around and go.
You always listen to them and go, well, I'll give it a try. Sort of thing.
Yeah, and go.
That's the thing.
No, it's not all you can't leave behind. So I'll leave it.
Yeah, but you're not going to lose them people. They're going to come back. They're going to at least try you out.
Have a lifetime fan.
But
why not?
What's worse? Pissing someone off because you've done something so far out that it's uncomfortable for them, or making the same thing and then they get bored.
Well, yes, that's it. Radiohead as well. Kid A completely lost me. What the fuck was all that about? But then I've had stand-up rows with people who think that's the best album since Sliced Bread.
Yeah. With Radiohead, you can slag off all their albums apart from OK Computer, which everyone regards as the Holy Grail.
Really?
Is that right?
Yeah, no, I don't. That I haven't heard, although that might be true. You might have heard differently to me.
It's too highbrow for me.
The Bends is my favourite.
Is that the second album?
Yes.
Yes, that's my favourite.
Yeah.
Because it's alt rock, isn't it? It's incredible.
Absolutely stand out. It's just insane. OK Computer, I can see why. If that is a fan favourite, I can see why.
Yeah.
There is some absolutely.
I couldn't get into it. I just know a lot of purist Radioheads, and they love that album more than
the song "Exit Music" for a film.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Absolutely,
I do like
just
that song.
brings me to tears every.
Do you see the episode of Black Mirror where that comes on the credits?
Yeah,
it's like the best use of music in TV I've ever seen.
Yes, mate, definitely. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, you can't please all the people all the time, but we're invested in a journey with these artists, and even like U2 started in 1972, 74. We're still talking about them. Radiohead started in the late 80s. We're still talking about them. They're still doing stuff. Yeah. We're invested.
What they're going to do next?
Absolutely. Let's get invested in our artists. So I aspire to be an artist that people can invest in. However little it is.
Yeah. and that comes from, you have to have confidence in what you do and be fearless with it to do it.
Cool, not necessarily. I think you keep saying that. I still have that fear. But you don't let it. Being brave. My daughter told me this. My 11-year-old daughter said, being brave is doing something. Is knowing that something scares you and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think being brave.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. I think that's a lovely place to end it on.
Yes.
And the only other thing I wanted to say was obviously the progression along the line. You've now sort of opened the door to any possibilities. Where is it going next for Paul Gillings?
So I think.
Are you going blues?
I think the next album's got a couple of blues tracks. Yeah. It's quite probably going to be a bit Mr. Smith-ish. Yeah. So there's already one instrumental hung over from the novel album. So there's another guitar instrumental going on there. A couple of indie, couple of blues, and it's going to be a mix of all the previous albums. I feel.
Yeah. You're not going to go far out and make flute orchestral music, or make a highly produced pop album by Max Martin. Then,
oh God, wouldn't that be nice? Then we could at least, have enough money to retire, and then make. I mean, make these albums.
You'd pay his fees, and then you would be in debt.
He'd get out of royalties. He'd get a cut out of royalties. He'd be fine with that. He don't need the money anyway.
This is true. He's had enough number ones.
Totally.
Let the youngsters shine. Anyway. So thank you for listening. Anything else you wanted to add, Paul?
No, that was all it. Just say thanks for coming over and making me the interviewee for a change. I've done so many of these things really for people.
Plenty for me. It's the least I could do.
Bless you, buddy.
So no, thank you very much. It was great to talk to you about it, and really interesting and inspiring. It's great to hear your story. We didn't talk much about the actual album, but I hope this makes you want to go and listen to it. Yeah. And if not, it doesn't matter because no one's fucking listening. So if you're an artist, make all the music you want and be fearless.
Thank you.
Goodbye.